Welcome to NocBro Nation.
What's going on, guys?
Hey guys, today we are here to give you our review of It.
Our very first movie review, actually.
Yeah. So we actually watched it, or went to the theater over the weekend, and Friday night, actually. And that...
Pissed my pants.
First reaction, real quick.
I thought it was great. I have... most people think I'm crazy, but I actually love the original movie. I love it. I never read the book, but I love it. I thought this was a great remake of it.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. I as well. So you guys know from the reactions video that I'm deathly afraid of clowns. A lot of people are, but I am severely afraid of clowns. I do not like the original movie because I don't like clowns. But I surprisingly didn't have a problem. Like, it was really scary. There were a lot of moments, aside from the stuff that they put in the trailer. Like, this was one of those movies that they were marketing so much.
They were.
That you really just kind of were afraid to watch any more stuff for fear that you would see everything in the movie that you did in the trailer.
And what's funny,
and it wasn't like that. Really.
Yeah, and I whispered to him in the theater when we were watching a specific part. I was like, man, I really wish I didn't watch the trailer because I knew this part was coming.
Yeah.
And I wasn't if I wouldn't have watched the trailer, I would have jumped back and been frightened, but I knew what was coming because it was in the trailer.
And there were those moments. There were those moments that we did see in the trailers that we saw in the actual movie, and like you were just explaining, we didn't jump, but there were also tons of other scenes that just scared the shit out of us. So before we go any further, spoiler alert, if you have not seen the movie, please go see it, shut off this video, come back to it, because we're going to be getting into some stuff about the movie that, we're going to spoil it. So, there's your warning right now.
So one of the major things that we saw in the trailer, but we didn't see the complete scene, was the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So
this was this was a shell shock, like right out the gate. Like,
freaks me out.
I got the sense that like the producers and directors are like, okay, let's do something right out the gate that is just going to shock the shit out of our audience. And they accomplished it.
So, we all know, the character Bill and his brother Georgie in this rendition of the film. So,
we know that Georgie dies, or Georgie is the first victim, at least from this storyline, of Pennywise. But we didn't know what was going to happen to Georgie.
Well, Georgie's not the first victim of Pennywise.
No,
he's taken, but from the group
in this storyline,
right? In the storyline from the group. So from the movie, Georgie is chasing his little boat down the street, and it goes into the sewer. And there was an extended clip of that conversation. He's talking with Pennywise, and Georgie is looking completely scared and terrified. He's like, I just want my boat. Pennywise is doing his thing to lure Georgie into there. He's like, I have a balloon. He's like, what else comes in? We can get you popcorn and cotton candy and all that kind of stuff.
He's like, I'm Pennywise, the dancing clown.
The dancing clown. He's like, Georgie, Pennywise, Georgie. So now we're not strangers anymore.
Yeah. And that was much like the original. It was almost, there were some parts that were line for line like the original, but
not this next part. So as he tells Georgie to reach in and take his boat, Georgie does. And Pennywise's face shifts into these like sharp freaking teeth and bites his arm off.
Just rips his arm off.
So the kid, the actor, the little kid, did an amazing job. He's sprawling on the street, crying in pain because his arm is off. Blood is everywhere. And then, of course, Pennywise takes him. But I was like, when we saw that, we were like, what the heck?
And I like to see the audience's reaction, so I kind of looked over at you and looked at other people, and everyone was just like stoic, like
did not expect,
covering their mouth, like
get his arm cut off.
It was brutal.
It was brutal. It was a brutal scene.
To me, like, I hate that part of the story. Like, I have kids. I just hate the fact that a kid died. Like, that just bothers the hell out of me. So to see a kid get his arm bit off and then pulled into the sewer,
it was crazy. And so, the whole thing about it is that, it preys on your worst fears.
Yes.
So every single one of these kids has a fear. And so it's, it transforms, shapeshifts into whatever you are afraid of, and you will see that. And one of the other creepiest ones was Stanley, the little Jewish kid. He was afraid of that weird looking painting
in his
which
father's
came alive.
office.
In his father's office came alive, and that thing was just
there were a lot of. So let's give a little background on Pennywise, right?
Yeah.
So Pennywise's true form is actually a glowing light or ball of energy, and what he's actually known as in the books is like a death light.
Right.
Or deadlights.
Right.
And what he has the ability to do is morph into different things or fears, or for that matter, of certain people. But his favorite form is Pennywise the Clown because, one, it's able to lure kids, and two, it also terrifies many people.
It does. Yeah. And what he's been doing in this little town is that every 27 years he comes out of hiding and lures as many kids as he can to feed off of, and then hibernates for another 27 years. So that's the moral of the story with it, is that he only comes out every 27 years.
We should point out that the original book, or the original series, actually the first part started off in the 50s. Mm-hmm. The second part, when they got older from the events earlier, was in the 80s. This one is in the 80s as their children.
Right. Yeah. And the whole movie is with them being children. And what's interesting is that we'll say now is that they will be making a second one.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the movie, it said Chapter 1.
And 27 years, you're going to be in the millennium. So it's going to be really exciting to see the newer one too.
Yeah. Or however many they're going to make. I don't know. They could make 3 or 4. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Either way.
Yeah.
But what I really like, though, is, how, bringing the other kids together. Mm-hmm. So, Bill, Eddie, Richie,
Ben.
Ben was a new kid, but Richie, Bill, and they're all friends, and they're all together. And over the course of the movie, each one of them sees Pennywise. They see the clown, but they also see weird things happening around them of stuff that they're afraid of. And they know, they still see the signs up of missing kids. And like you said, off camera before, is like it's like the town, in a sense, doesn't care. They put a picture up of a missing kid, but in a way, nothing really happens.
It's like, and that what for those of you that do not know, that have not read the books, what that basically is Pennywise. One of his other abilities is to kind of, I don't know how to say this, but cloud the judgment of adults. Basically putting up a mask or a facade. Of that everything's fine. So basically, to the outside world, no one knows about these missing appearances because the parents just simply don't care or are not aware of it.
Right. It's like he puts some kind of spell over them or something. Yeah. They're missing, they're gone. They kind of make the parents move on after that. It's no big deal. So, God, man, such an interesting take.
Which we kind of see because we get Bill, who is just obviously broken up about losing Georgie for every right. And he's trying to find them, and at one point in the movie he takes his hamster tunnels and brings them into the garage and constructs like the sewer pipeline of Derry, the town.
He's trying to figure out where the sewers are leading towards, to where he says, I think I know where Georgie is, because the sewers all converge here.
Yeah. And to him, at that point in the movie, he does not know of Pennywise.
No.
So to him, Georgie just went into the sewer system, and he's trying to find out where Georgie would come out of the sewer system so he could try and find him. Mm-hmm. When his dad discovers what he's been doing, his research, his dad just completely loses it and says Georgie is dead.
Yeah, move on.
Yep, move on. And that's kind of where we think of Pennywise's powers are. he's not reporting him missing. He just thinks that he's dead. Let's get over it. Let's move on. We're sad, but let's move on.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it's just you could see the sadness and and also the fear, but he just got so angry with Bill. Like, put this away. Yeah. He's gone. Yeah. And Bill is just, he's not going to accept that. He's like, look, he got pulled into a sewer. He's probably just trying to find his way out or whatever. He's going to do what he can to find his brother. So
and that's just us thinking this. They didn't go into any of that particular power in the movie. But the way that the interaction between the characters, between the kids, it was great.
It was awesome. And showing, what I loved is, like they did with the original as well, is showing each kid's fear.
Yeah.
They're going through each one and showing, the weird things happening to them and their fear for what Pennywise is trying to latch itself on.
Yeah.
To bring that out, to let them know that, he's coming after him or whatever.
Let's go over some of them. So we did mention Eddie.
I mentioned Stanley.
Stanley was the one that was scared of the painting. Now, this painting was like a tall, slim, faceless, but with sharp teeth
woman
that scared the living shit out of you.
God, yeah, it was creepy. Eddie, we saw Eddie's. Eddie's was because he's a hypochondriac. He's a hypochondriac. His mother, doesn't want him. Well, allows him to go outside, but he has to. He's on meds. She's very protective of him.
She's actually tricking him to take the meds, thinking that something's wrong with him, which in reality he's not.
And so his actual fear was like a leper.
It was a leper, zombie-ish
leper zombie thing. Yeah, it was so weird.
And it was really funny is at one point, like he stumbles upon this house where Pennywise, all the sewers converge to this one house, and he's walking past it, drops his pills, and the leper picks one up, and like at one point it has it in its mouth. It's like, "Are you ready for your pill?" It just chases him.
Yeah,
it was wicked.
It was weird. Beverly, the girl that they meet up with, her fear really didn't come out. I mean, it was her father.
And here's the thing with Beverly. At one point she's not scared of Pennywise, and that's maybe why at one point in the movie he takes her and brings her back to her lair, and then shows, because he even says to her, "You're going to be afraid of me," and then that's when he shows his true form, and
she goes up in like this state. And I know that Mike, the one kid, he's his family got burned in the house, and so that's kind of his fear, is burning people, or the old memories of his family is
Who's
burning.
The one that's afraid of clowns?
Richie.
Yeah.
Richie was a funny character. The kid with the glasses, the thick glasses. He was poking fun the whole time.
Yeah, that's another thing. So they added a little bit of comic relief in there with Richie's character.
Yeah.
And a little bit of who's the hypochondriac? Eddie too.
Yeah. Those two kind of went back and forth with each other, always talking about like their moms or something. It was just, it was hilarious.
But yeah, so essentially all these kids are part of a losers club. And they added another element about bullies in there too. There was a group of bullies that just
torment. One kid's freaking crazy.
Yeah, and the head bully, I forgot his name too, actually goes off the rails a couple occasions.
Yeah, he was being controlled by Pennywise. He kills his dad. And then he like
goes after the kids.
He's like watching a television show, and they're like, kill them all, and he goes after them, and the kid's crazy. But one thing I really loved is Pennywise hideout. So he's got a mountain of toys, but then when you look up, there's these other kids that he's taken, and they're just like swirling around, so like a gravity pull thing.
Yeah, and what I gathered from that is that so eventually at one point the kids, mainly Billy, decides that they have to do something, that these instances of these kids missing, what happened to Georgie, what's happening around town with all the other missing kids, something has to be done. Yeah. And initially, Richie doesn't go along with the plan, but
because he hasn't seen anything yet.
Yeah.
Until he saw. When they were watching the film, when they were going through the pictures, and they were getting to Bill's family picture and saw his mom, and the hair was going all over the place, and it morphed into Pennywise,
which was in the trailer,
right? And then Pennywise actually jumped out of the screen all big and monstrous. That was the first time that Richie actually saw something. He thought he was the only one that hadn't seen anything yet, and until he saw that, that's when he was part of the crew.
And of course, he's afraid of clowns.
So he's terrified of clowns.
Terrified him. Yeah. So eventually now they get to the point where they have to do something. They initially try to do something. They try to go to the house, which all the sewers converge to.
Right.
And they're kind of, in a way, defeated. Not necessarily defeated, but... Pennywise gets away. It doesn't really get away. He just they run out of the house.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. They run out, and
mainly because I think what's his name breaks his arm.
Yeah, Eddie falls and he breaks his arm, and but Bill is relentless. He's like, I know where his lair is.
Yeah, because they go down to the basement and he sees the sewer.
Right, you go down to the basement and he sees the main sewer. So they go down there to try, because also they took Beverly was taken. So they're going to find Beverly, and they're also going to try to destroy Pennywise.
Yeah.
And the ending was great too. I mean, it Pennywise is going to do his thing to try to converge the kids. It shows he shows Georgie walking around. Georgie actually comes out with his arm missing, and he's like, "I've been trying to find you. I just want to go home. I just want to go home." And that was sad.
That was brutal. Brutal.
Excuse me. And Georgie finally actually shoots him in the head.
Bill.
Oh yeah, Bill actually shoots him in the head because he knows he's not real.
Yeah.
Uses that gun thing that Mike had when he kills.
Because when Mike is his family's a farmer, and they kill the sheep.
Or the sheep or whatever. He has this
basically a gun that shoots him in the head and puts them out of their misery.
Right.
When we get to Pennywise's lair, it's really cool because here you have, like you were saying, all the toys. And what I gathered from that was those were all the toys of his victims piled up all the way up to the top of the sewer. And guys, we're talking like 100 feet in the air at least.
Yeah, at least. Massive. And other kids just like circling around.
Yeah. Because he showed us his power with Beverly. As he's holding Beverly up, his mouth morphs open into this spiky, weird thing. Yeah. And in there are 3 lights that kind of put her in a trance.
Right.
And make her float and kind of become a part of the other people that are there. However, Ben is able to snap Beverly out of it because he's falling in love with her.
Right.
But we get to the point where during this last battle with Pennywise, after being killed by Georgie's killed by Billy, and Pennywise grabs Billy, right, and says to the kids, "Let me take Billy, and I'll go away for 27 years,
right,
and you'll be old, and you won't have to worry about me when I come back." Basically, in layman's terms, right?
Right. Yeah.
It was awesome.
It was awesome. And of course, the kids, it was like they thought about it for a second, and in a way, but then they all just kind of went and started just party killing Pennywise, bashing on him.
Because they realize at that point, we're not afraid of you anymore.
Right.
And so Pennywise realizes that too and has no power against them.
His power is starting to diminish. He starts to kind of break away, and he actually crawls himself into get back in the sewers. And Pennywise isn't dead.
No.
He just has no power because he doesn't have any kids to feed off of. So he's going to go back down into his lair and almost starve to death for the next 27 years till he comes back.
And we get the sense that maybe at that time, we don't exactly know, but the 27 years might have been up and he's going into hibernation.
Right, he's going into hibernation now. And so the one thing that I was really I didn't know about, and you mentioned this after the movie, was after Pennywise was kind of defeated, all the other kids that were floating around started to slowly come down to the ground. And I remember you mentioned, so are they just going to wake up? And I kind of said, well, no, because I think those kids have been there for a long time. I think they're just dead.
Yeah, it was. In my mind, it was kind of a little bit, not too big of a plot hole, but little bit of a plot hole because Beverly was in that same state. Now, granted, like you said, Beverly wasn't in that state as long as they were.
Right.
But Ben was able to wake Beverly out of that state, and she, became normal and back to the way she was. But when Pennywise went into hibernation, they floated down and there was nothing.
I think they just left and they're probably just dead or whatever.
Yeah.
So. And then we kind of get the kids, they're making a blood truce that,
blood oath, right?
Blood oath. If Pennywise does come back, wherever we are in life, we're going to come back and help defeat him.
Yeah.
So
it's a really cool scene. They all cut each other's hands and hold each other's hands and basically make this oath, just to repeat that 27 years, they're coming back and they're going to defeat this thing.
Yeah.
So
they kind of all... like Beverly actually is moving out of state. They all just kind of go their separate ways, even though they're going to see, some of them are going to see each other in school, next year. But they're all just making a blood oath that, this happens, he comes back, we're coming back. And
could you imagine living 27 years in that place, knowing that there's a freaking evil thing in the sewer that's just waiting to come back?
It's nuts.
Hey, let's just... 5 years from now, let's go down to Pennywise's lair and just hang out there for a while and smoke a joint.
I know, it's like the original. I mean, the original, they got past that point, and then Pennywise started to come back and started to torment them again, and they all had to come. They started bickering at each other, but they all had to come together to help. But it's all in all, great film. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Even if you are terrified of clowns. Just check it out. It's really great.
And I'll talk to that too. I've said this again. I'm terrified of clowns, but I went to this movie and I really thought it was an awesome movie. And I actually was surprised that I didn't have any problems sleeping that night.
Yeah, it was great.
But I do want to say that after the movie, of course, it says Chapter 1.
Chapter 1. Yeah.
So
to be interesting yes. They mentioned the whole 27 years, so they might stick to that. So the kids are going to be in their 40s, late 30s, 40s.
You want to know what's cool, though? The original movie came out in 1990.
Yeah.
It's 27 years.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was pretty cool that 27 years after the original movie, here we have it again.
Yeah. They planned it. So we're excited for whenever Chapter 2 comes out, to where, I don't know if they'll make a change, like maybe Pennywise comes out earlier. I don't know if they'll make the kids in their 20s or something. Who knows? But
I don't think so. Yeah, I think it'll follow the original. The question is will they defeat him in the second chapter, or will there be more chapters after that? Basically, will their kids have to deal with it?
And that's the thing. If they don't have them defeat in Chapter 2 after 27 years, they're going to be all too old. So does it go to their kids? Is it going to be a new set of kids? Maybe.
Look, this made a ton of money and it's breaking records.
It is.
They're going to milk this thing for as long as they can. I have a feeling, and I'm glad they do, because it was an awesome movie.
And we cannot wait to get the It toys that might be coming out.
I can wait.
I'm gonna get him a Pennywise toy.
I can wait.
Nice little bobblehead, maybe.
Nope.
And anyway, when you press the button, he says, "Hi, Georgie. Hi, Georgie. Hi, Georgie." It kind of sounded like Yoda for a second.
Anyway, guys, let us know what you guys thought about it. If you happen to go and check it out in the movie theaters this last weekend. If you haven't, definitely, I don't know why you're watching this video, but if you haven't, go check it out. It's an amazing movie, and we did no justice by explaining it. But it's awesome.
So just like the video, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for more movie reviews coming down the line. So we are NocBro Nation.
We're out.